remember the day. I mean, I must have been 13, and I can remember we were all excited about this day that was coming. And, you know, people had put flags up and bunting around the village. We lived in a very small village north of Lincoln. Not a lot went on there, but people did put things out for that day. And we could go to some friends and watch it on their little black and white television. A lot of us sitting round in this little screen, but you could actually see it. And I mean, it was very exciting to watch the coaches and all the soldiers and the horsemen and everything. It was amazing. You know, I've never seen anything like it, because living in the back of beyond, you didn't see things like that. And I mean, the Queen in this golden coach, I mean, it was just amazing. We enjoyed the day because it was just something very special, really.
I was a police cadet, one of the first in the Metropolitan Police in London, and I was 16. And I was stationed in Wembley, and we were all, the whole station and most of the station were sent up to be crowd control on the procession route. So I was included with them. But the first thing I can remember is when we got into Oxford Street, we debussed, we got off the coaches that they sent for us. And the first thing we saw was all the newspaper headlines were "Hillary has conquered Everest." That really sticks in the mind, and everybody clapped and cheered. They thought it was so wonderful. And then basically, I was stuck on Marble Arch. Not on Marble Arch, but on crowd control around it. And with all the policemen, obviously, I was just a cadet with a little hat with a blue band on it, which made it, but I was there to help the numbers. First time I'd been, as a policeman or anything, and it was nice being out in front to be control, The crowd was very well behaved, obviously, because it's a joyous occasion. We had no trouble. And the only other thing I can remember is the procession. That's what we were there for. And I can remember the golden coach. I can remember seeing the Queen in the golden coach, giving me a wave, I thought. And then the other thing outstanding was Queen, I think it's Queen Salotti, I think her name was, of Tonga, the Queen of Tonga, was in an open carriage. It was drizzling with rain, had been most of the morning actually, drizzling with rain, and she was in bright flowing robes, smiling and laughing away. Such a memory of a big fat woman in all these clothes, laughing and waving. And after the procession we dispersed, got back home. Mother then had rented a little black and white television set from Radio Rentals, and we sat in the evening watching the whole rerun of the coronation ceremony in the Abbey. And all the neighbours were in, because we were the only one in the street with a television set, so they all came in. But it was very interesting,
The coronation was frightening. There were too many people there, it was too crowded. And I say this lady, I can always remember the lady fell in front of me and I was being pushed from behind. So it was very difficult I didn't tread on her actually, but I could have done very easily. So my recollections of the coronation are not very good. Not very good.
Well, I was actually there, because when I was at catering college, we were asked to go up to London to help with the catering on the day. So the night before, we all marched onto the train to London. We were taken to a restaurant, which was closed, to sleep on the floor. And the next day, we were marched through the streets of London, which were already lined with people, to work. And we were put in different parts of the city. And I was in Westminster Hall. And we had to prepare all the cups of tea and coffee. And we served the dukes and duchesses and lords and ladies, which was great. They were nice people to serve. I remember some old duchess was insisting on telling us all that went on and how beautiful the Queen was and everything.
Nice.
So it was good. But while the coronation was up, when the procession was on, we went out to watch. And I wasn't very tall then, so I climbed up a tree, which was great, but I couldn't get down. So I had to get the first aid people to get me down. But that was great. We saw everything. When we saw the coach with the Queen, I can't really recall anyone particularly. We were just looking at her, I think,
Yeah.
and the fact of being there.
Because of the coronation, I was invited to go to where my father worked part-time and watched it over an undertaker's on a black and white TV with about 20 other people, absolutely crowded in. And it was the first time, really, that I'd seen the inside of Westminster Abbey. And I never realised that there were so many dukes, earls, bishops. I mean, the procession just went on and on and on.
Well, the coronation day, all I really remember is my mother and her friend made us crepe paper outfits with round sort of flower head hats in 3 colours, red, white and blue. So my sister and I have a twin sister, so we were all marched down to the High Street in Godmanchester, and there was trestle tables all set up with tea on, which I don't think we'd ever seen so much food, because we were quite a poor family. We didn't have lots, and there we all sat with these crepe paper hats, and it absolutely poured with rain, and all the colour ran down our faces. That's all I really remember.
And we had a street party there, all the children in the road. We're sort of halfway through celebrating, and then the heavens opened. So we all had to dive into this lady's house on the corner of the road. There's all these children and the food and the tables all trying to cram in. And the heavens were dropping, but nobody seemed to worry that it was raining.
I can remember the day because I've managed to locate it in my flying logbook, and I'd come back from Rhodesia to do a jet conversion. I can't remember any sort of celebrations at the RAF station for that occasion, because they were desperate to get a lot more pilots through training very quickly because of the Korean War. They were running out of aircrew over there, so they were rushing everybody to get through, so there wasn't time to get involved in celebrations really.
Oh, I love them.
Oh,
I love them. Absolutely love them.
I'm a staunch royalist myself, and I got it all from my dad.
Oh, I think she's marvellous. Absolutely. Lovely lady. I'm not so keen as some of the offspring, you know.
She's done a difficult job under difficult circumstances in many cases, and I'm sure she's had to shake hands with many people she'd rather not. But that's diplomacy for you. No, I think we're very fortunate. And when you look at the alternative, you realise how fortunate we are to have a monarchy.
The royal family, oh yes, real royalists. I think they're important. Yeah. I wish I had their money, but I wish I.
She's a one-off. She was very young to take on what she did, and I think she's done a great job. I really do. The country are all for her. And there's very few that are anti the monarchy, and I just think she's been amazing. No, I admire her. I think she's taken on so much in her life, and which has been thrown at her, hasn't it? She's had to do it.
But I remember we were in the music lesson. Mr. Brown, a girl came in and talks to him, and his face dropped, and I remember he put his cup down and he just stood there and he said, the king is dead. And I thought, at the time, I thought, oh my goodness, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, 6th of February 1942, we had a class going on, and it was interrupted by the Reverend Ward. He didn't really introduce himself, he just walked in with a chair. He stood the chair along the side of the class and stood on it, and we all sort of open mouths sort of gaped at him. And he said, the news is, the king is dead. God save the queen. And there was a sort of a hush for someone to say the king is dead. It's a final thing, and it was an intake, a sharp intake of breath went through the whole class. Remember it very well.
I remember going with Mother, seeing him lying in state, and he had the yards and yards and yards, nearly a mile of queue. We got on the end of it. It took us about 3 hours to get to see the actual, all you do is walk by, see the coffin and the guards. I remember that clear as anything.
Well, I joined the RAF. I was there for
5, 6 years.
5 or 6 years, yeah. And then one of the bosses, he said, you were wanted inside. You've got to go to the Queen's flight. And I said, oh, what's the Queen's flight? So I was posted to the Queen's flight. I mean, I had a fantastic time with them. The Prince Philip, I was flying with him quite often. He was on board, and he said, I'm hungry, if anybody got anything to eat? And I said, well, my wife showed me how to make scrambled egg. And he said, oh, that'd be great. So I made the scrambled egg, gave it to him, and we were friends ever after.
Well, I was out in Malta, 50 to 52. Prince Philip came out there, then Elizabeth came out there. I remember seeing her in church, and I remember seeing her going to the films on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing her at the polo match. Although I didn't actually talk to her, I saw her quite often. But she was just like an ordinary naval officer's wife when she was out there. So I think she probably enjoyed it. It was quite a peaceful time.
Nice.